Good evening and welcome to the spooky edition of The Dish. I'm your host, Aaron Kenigsberg, and thank you for joining us on this eerie night. We have a myriad of frightful tales to scare you with tonight, and by frightful tales to scare you, I mean stories about music and movies and junk like we always talk about. Welcome to The Dish! Tis the election season, a merry time of engagingly entertaining debates and political disillusionment. But don't let that get you down. Just don't vote for Trump. Excuse my faux pas. Following the rules of proper New England etiquette, we don't discuss sex, race, religion, and politics here at Emerson College. Instead, let us discuss celebrities across the nation crusading against our favorite business tycoon, Donald J. Trump. Stephen King began a petition, John Legend just simply declared him a racist, and Robert De Niro thinks that he is totally nuts. And if De Niro's not on board, then forget about it. But I don't think anyone will forget about Justin Timberlake's shameless ballot selfie. The celebrity may have potentially violated an election law in his home state of Tennessee. Voters are permitted to bring their cell phones into the election booth, but solely for candidate research purposes. However, the law does not permit telephone conversations, recording, or photographs or videos. But does that count selfies? I smell a loophole. Unfortunately, Shailene Woodley was not so lucky. The Divergent actress, channeling the rebellious nature of her leading role, was arrested on October 10th protesting against the Dakota Access Pipeline. However, she's using this legal debacle as a victory rather than a step back, hoping to spread further awareness of national environmental issues through all the media coverage. In other news, Khloe Kardashian has officially spoken out for her sister Kim's robbery. She calls the robbery, quote, a wake-up for everybody, yet counterattacks criticism against her sister's display of wealth via social media. Sisterly love or a giant contradiction? Watch a season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians and then you be the judge. Well, those are our top spooky stories for tonight. When we come back, we've got music news, theater news, and we're going to talk about the best Halloween movies from our childhood. Stick around.
What are you doing?
I'm getting ready to host Good Morning Emerson, of course.
Good Morning Emerson? What's that?
It's the best morning show ever that's on Tuesday and Thursday at 9 a.m.
Wow, how can I work on this?
Yeah, let's get going. Red leather, yellow leather, red leather.
Welcome back to The Dish. Because this is our Halloween episode, I've been told to act more scary. So before I send it to Maddie Crichton with music news, I'll leave you with this. The universe is a simulation. Take it away, Maddie.
Thanks, Aaron. It sure is. In a recent Rolling Stones article, Alex Powell, one of the two lead singers of the Chainsmokers, said that Lady Gaga's new song, Perfect Illusion, sucks. After a few days later, Lady Gaga was promoting her newest single, Ayo, when she sent out the tweet, #Ayo at the Chainsmokers, maybe you guys will like this one better. I can only assume that Pal called out Gaga in an attempt to make his band at least slightly relevant. Sure, the Chainsmokers have that one song, but realistically, how long can a one-hit wonder survive in the music market before turning to feuding with other celebrities to stay in the spotlight? Apparently, the answer is less than a year. And if you've ever looked at Obama and thought, man, I wish I was as fit as our current president, then you are in luck. President Obama recently dropped the hottest mixtape of all time, aka his workout playlist. If you are worried that it may be a bit too out of touch with what the kids listen to these days, you can find consolation in the fact that the playlist includes Beyonce and the Black Eyed Peas. If you were looking for a dope playlist to bump during your next workout, look no further than the presidential playlist, available now on Spotify. And Bob Dylan was recently awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in Literature, except he doesn't care. Dylan has not responded to the award in any capacity and went so far as to take the award off of his website. The Nobel Foundation, however, does not accept rejection of the award and noted that Dylan will be listed as a recipient of the award in their official papers. The next leg of the process for those awarded the prize is to give either a lecture or a concert on the topic they were chosen for, though Dylan has given no word on that either. His silence also means that the $1 million is hanging in limbo. Hey, Nobel Foundation, if Dylan won't take it, I will graciously accept it on his behalf. I need every bad chick up in Equinox to get excited. Kanye West just recently announced a new leg of his St. Pablo tour, adding tour dates all the way up to New Year's Eve. While the reason is because fans are asking to see more of him, I can only imagine it was also because Kanye loves to hear the sound of his own voice. Either way, fans of West are to choose from a variety of tour dates to see the singer belt hits like Ultra Light Beam and Father Stretch My Hands Part 1. But for all the fans who have love for Kanye West, if you see them on the street, give them Kanye's best because they're mad they don't have tickets because it will probably sell out immediately. Now for a review. Yas Gaga, the pop queen herself, Lady Gaga, dropped a new album called Joanne, and I'm going to lose my mind because it is so good. Not to sound like Stefan from SNL, but this album has everything. It's got your fun dance tracks, but then it also has songs that are reminiscent of a 60s musical and even folk and country. But weirdly enough, it works. Stylistically, this is unlike anything Gaga has ever done before. She's always been strictly pop, making the genre as abstract as possible, but here she twists and bends genre in a way we would have never predicted. While Gaga's lyrics have always been very layered and nuanced, they were always far more fun than sad, and this album has a bit more of a balance between those feelings. The song Million Reasons gives us more feels than any Gaga song ever has before. It's sort of like the Adele track of the album. It's slower, vulnerable, and will make you want to cry in your Boloko as you sit alone in a study cubicle at the library. Then Grigio Girls is the empowering sad girl anthem we've always needed. It has an 80s vibe to it, and it confirms that Lady Gaga would be an excellent person to invite to a sleepover. Listen to the album, but fair warning, be prepared to never stop. It's catchy and gets better with every listen. Back to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Maddie. It's that time of year again where the autumn leaves begin to fall through the crisp, cool air, changing colors and reminding us of the beauty of the natural world. But more importantly, Disney Channel airs Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town. Here to debate what the best Halloween movie is and to discuss some of Disney's recent questionable Halloween-related decisions is movie correspondent Augie Vandeveer and TV correspondent Nathaniel Rosenberg. All right, guys, so let's just dive into it.
Okay.
Oh, Jon Snow, excuse me. This is actually the new season of Game of Thrones with the three of us.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. So between Hocus Pocus and Halloween Town, or if you have a wild card in there, what would you say is your number one?
Well, I gotta be honest, I don't watch a lot of horror movies because I find them very scary.
Same.
So as a kid, especially because they're aimed at kids, I said, none of this. I didn't watch either, but Halloween Town did sound like an interesting place to live.
It does. It does. Do you have any take, Augie?
Halloween Town was an interesting flick. My sister kept it on Disney Channel when she had the remote. So I did partake at Halloween Town. I specifically remember a man with a pumpkin head flailing about over a mini mall, and I said, this is a solid
movie
flick.
for you.
Absolutely.
If I recall, the bus driver was a skeleton.
Yeah, or was that the taxi driver?
The taxi driver was a skeleton.
It was a public transportation vehicle.
The public transit driver was a skeleton.
There we go. I have to say though, like I have this massive soft spot in my heart for Hocus Pocus, because even like before I was like a flamboyant musical theater major, I could definitely still appreciate like Bette Midler singing "I've Put a Spell on You." Like that was like an iconic moment of my childhood.
You know, I thought I hadn't heard of this movie before until like last year, and then everyone was like, "You haven't seen Hocus Pocus? It's the most important movie ever." And I was like, "Is this a classic everyone else has seen?" So I didn't realize I must have missed that whole thing as a kid.
You need to catch up on that like immediately.
You know what's scary?
What's scary?
Coraline.
Coraline.
Honestly, I've seen horror movies, but I think Coraline is the scariest movie I've seen.
I can't watch scary movies. Like when I was little, we would watch Scooby-Doo, and I'd have to like close my eyes because I got too scared.
Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island.
Yes.
That was
yes.
scary.
I agree. I agree with you, Jon Snow.
Because you know what's scary? Because in other Scooby-Doo episodes, they're like, "Oh, it's not a monster, it's just some guy in a costume." But in Zombie Island, they were real.
Yeah, it's terrifying. I can't deal with that anymore. Because I'm getting too scared, let's talk more about some of the most popular costumes of the year. I know that there is quite a bit of controversy surrounding Disney's decision to release a costume from their upcoming movie, Moana, for the Maui character. It's a child's costume that has like sleeves that make the skin look brown.
Yeah, what's weird is that like, I thought it would at least be like a muscle suit or something,
Yeah.
but it's just, like why not just take off your shirt and paint tattoos on your body?
Right.
Problem solved, right?
It's a bit problematic to have skin as part of your costume.
Right, I mean, brown is not a costume.
I don't encourage children to wear skin suits at any
No.
time of the year.
That doesn't just go for like skin tones, but like morph suits also are awful.
But not in a racist way always. Like if a green morph suit isn't racist, but still awful.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's my point.
Yeah.
And so another costume that is floating around that I personally am very offended by is sexy Kin Bone.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Can we talk
Yes.
about that, please?
Sexy, almost Trump voter. It's a
Yeah,
stretch.
exactly. That's the thing that no one's talking about.
Yeah.
He's an undecided voter, so he could, or he was at least, I don't know what his current stance is, but he could have very well voted for Trump.
Yeah, exactly. And what bothers me most is that the name Ken Boner was right there. They could have been Ken Boner, but they didn't.
I am so mad that you put that into my head. Why did you have to say
I'm
that?
sorry.
You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Oh, I know nothing.
Well, anyway, we are gonna send it on over to Abby Creighton for some spooky theater news. What you got for us, Abby?
Thanks, Aaron. I'm not sure if you consider this spooky, but Disney's Freaky Friday is coming to the stage. The classic story of a mom and daughter who switch bodies has been adapted into a musical, making its first run this fall at the Signature Theater in Washington, D.C. With the Mean Girls musical also set to premiere this fall, it looks like Lindsay Lohan's entire IMDb page is getting a lyrical revamp. Fingers crossed they skip over Herbie Fully Loaded and go straight to the Parent Trap. Earlier this month, some of the biggest names in theater came together at the St. James Theater in New York to raise money for Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. Angela Bassett, Neil Patrick Harris, and Lin-Manuel Miranda were among the performers who came out to support Clinton's campaign. Surprisingly, there does not seem to be any similar Broadway-themed fundraisers planned for Trump's campaign. I'm not even sure if Trump's ever seen a Broadway musical, despite probably being one of the few people left who can actually afford a Hamilton ticket. Speaking of Hamilton, the PBS documentary Hamilton's America premiered this past Friday night. The documentary includes behind-the-scenes footage of the making of Hamilton, as well as full performances from the play itself. There's also a lot of history thrown in there with interviews from qualified historians and high-profile political figures. So if you ever wanted to hear George W. Bush give you his opinion on Lin-Manuel Miranda's iconic rap opera, this documentary is for you. Fox's The Rocky Horror Picture Show reboot also premiered this past Friday, and people did not like it at all. The production stars Laverne Cox as Dr. Frankenfurter and Victoria Justice as Janet. The show is also directed by Kenny Ortega, who is best known for giving us the absolute gem known as High School Musical. So what went wrong?
Well, it turns out that a beloved raunchy cult classic does not translate well as a family-friendly pre-taped TV adaptation. Who knew? Nice try, Fox, but please don't ever make us do the time warp again. Emerson Stage ran James and the Giant Peach this past weekend, and it was super sweet, not just because of the peach. Adapted from the Roald Dahl book of the same title, James and the Giant Peach follows the story of a young boy named James. If you don't already know the story, in which case I'm sorry for your lack of a childhood, we follow a young orphan named James. Both of his parents were killed in a crazy rhino attack, and the only family he has are these two horrendous aunts named Spiker and Sponge. Quite honestly, James should have known they would have been awful with names like Spiker and Sponge, but they take him in anyway, but only so they can use him as a monkey servant. A magic man comes to visit James and gives him a potion to help him with his aunts, only the potion turns into wriggly crocodile tongues that end up all over a peach tree, a grasshopper, a ladybug, a spider, a centipede, and an earthworm, resulting in a giant peach and weird half-human, half-insect hybrids that becoming the family James never knew he had. This show was absolutely adorable, and the cast was sickeningly talented. There was dancing, singing, magic tricks. What more could you want from a show? Oh right, there were puppets. How could you possibly get any cuter than puppets? How about adding some fake British accents? Seriously, it was too much to handle. The set was colorful and vibrant, and the lighting added to the spectacle and magic of the show. Up next for Emerson Stage is The House of Bernardo Alba, and I have very high expectations. That's all we got for theater news this week. Back to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Abby. That Rocky Horror reboot, though, as it would turn out, casting a Disney star alongside a Nickelodeon star in a raunchy sex comedy doesn't translate well. Who knew? We'll be right back after this.
Wow, our debates are on fire. Oh no, why did I say that? Oh no, I'm on fire still and it's so hot. Why have I done this? Oh no, I'm still on fire, but watch Speechless on the Emerson channel. It's really good and full of action.
Welcome back to The Dish. We're going to throw it over to our TV correspondent, Nathaniel Rosenberg. Wow, that is quite the scary mask you've got on there, Nathaniel.
Wow, thanks, Aaron. Saturday Night Live had its last presidential debate cold open, parodying the third and final debate of the election. After seeing the first and second debates be parodied, Republican candidate Donald Trump tweeted that shows like SNL were rigging the election and that Alec Baldwin's portrayal of him stinks. That's right, Donald, because it's the media that's making you look bad in this election, not the fact that you've been acting like a baby that hasn't had his diaper changed in at least a week. CBS confirmed recently that they will be airing a Candy Crush Saga game show at an unreleased date. The show will feature teams of two competing against giant interactive boards where players can overcome different obstacles in order to become the Candy Crush champion. Middle-aged moms all over the country have been flocking to CBS television studios in New York in an attempt to prove that their years of sending their kids Candy Crush requests weren't in vain. VH1 has ordered a new series starring Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg with the title Martha and Snoop's Dinner Party. Each week, the duo will host an exclusive dinner party with different famous guests in attendance, working together to set the parties up and prepare delicious meals for dessert. They'll most likely end up serving weed brownies that both your racist grandma and weird cousin Bran will enjoy. I hate Bran. Fans are getting more and more excited as the release of the Gilmore Girls revival, Gilmore Girls, A Year in the Life, gets closer. Airing on November 25th, a new trailer for the show has been released, centering around the main two characters, Lorelai and Gilmore and Rory Gilmore, the fast-talking, coffee-loving dynamic duo. Closed caption writers for the program are starting to wet themselves at the sheer thought of having to once again keep up with their dialogue. Okay, now I'm going to do TV reviews. Black Mirror is back and as bleak as ever. This is good because my life is bleak and I want Black Mirror to reflect that. Black Mirror is like the Twilight Zone, but for the age of iPhones. But what's interesting is that it doesn't just shine a light on dark technology. Ultimately, sci-fi technology is just a catalyst, and the scariest thing in Black Mirror is human nature itself. Okay, I'm supposed to say more about Black Mirror, but I'm bored, so I'm going to talk about the new season of the HBO series Game of Thrones. The first episode of the new season was bad. I hated it. Boring. But then the second episode happened and Jon Snow came back to life and I liked it again. This season won the show an Emmy for Best Drama. Hey, guess which episode made it happen? It was the one where I killed a bunch of people and acted really cool and also had nice hair. My only issue, though, is that not enough episodes had Jon Snow in them. I think that if Game of Thrones wants more Emmys, they should do more cool Jon Snow battle scenes and stop killing him. Overall, I'd give this show a 3 out of 5. 5 stars for quality, -2 stars for me being dead in the first episode. Well, that's it for me. I'm going to go off and do some Jon Snow things. Back to you, Aaron.
Thanks, Nathaniel. I don't really want to know what Jon Snow things entail, so we're just gonna scoot on over to movie news with Augie Vandeveer. What's new in the world of the silver screen, Augie?
Thanks, Aaron. For all our Marvel fans out there, rejoice! The Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 trailer has been released, and it was glorious. All the Guardians are back, including a pint-sized Groot, most likely still regrowing from the events of the last film, no spoilers here. The trailer showed off some high-action sequences, but didn't forget to throw in that classic Guardians charm that made us fall in love with the squad way back in 2014. The trailer hints that the movie may focus on Peter Quill's and Gamora's relationship. As well, it showed off Yondu, the presumed villain of Volume 2. If you thought the film industry was lacking superhero movies, worry not, for the next Guardians movie is ooga-chogging its way into theaters in 2017. As many of you here at Emerson were born during or after 1996, you may have missed Space Jam when it first came out. The cult classic film featuring the Looney Tunes characters and Michael Jordan, in honor of its 20th anniversary, is being re-released for a select time in select theaters on November 13th and 16th. This includes the local AMC Lowe's Boston Common 19 theater. Whether you missed it when it first came out, have been a fan since day one, or just want to appreciate the weirdness that is Space Jam, now is your chance. Tickets are available for purchase online for the select dates. Meanwhile, I'm still waiting for the re-release of Shaquille O'Neal's Kazam, the arguably worst 1996 film starring a basketball player. If you thought J.K. Rowling was done with the Harry Potter universe, you clearly have no idea how much money there is still to make off it. While Rowling has said that the story of Harry, Ron, and Hermione is done, the film Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is set to release on November 18th and will explore other aspects of the Harry Potter universe. In a bit more of recent news, alongside a few details about the film, Rowling disclosed that the initial set of 3 films will now be 5 films. Extending stories into extra films is not a new trend. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows started this trend, and it was quickly followed by such films as The Hobbit and The Hunger Games. While hopefully the extra 2 films don't feel like filler, we can be sure that Rowling and Warner Brothers will be enjoying the extra money that brings in. Prophetess Maximosa! More on the idea that Hollywood has run out of original ideas and is milking whatever they can, a new Willy Wonka movie has been announced. By our calculation and polling of an extensive amount of Wonka fans, we have found that a grand total of 0 people were asking for this movie. The film is supposedly a prequel to the events of the original story, but it is not an origin story. The film will follow Wonka in his early adventures. Who knows? Because, as most people do, I've been spending most of my life pondering what Willy Wonka could have possibly been up to before he owned that darn chocolate factory. No more details on the film have been released as of late, but I've got my fingers crossed for a Danny DeVito cameo as an Oompa Loompa. Sorry if these stories weren't spooky enough, unless you find the capitalist greed of cash-grabbing executives as terrifying as I do. It is now time for a review. The Accountant, starring Ben Affleck, is an action-packed cautionary tale about being too good at your job. Affleck stars as Christian Wolf, surprisingly not an airport erotica novel antagonist, but instead, well, an accountant, but like a really, really good one. Wolf is a high-functioning autistic and displays a savant-level understanding of mathematics. But since this is a movie, the only way they can communicate that is Affleck scribbling all over windows. In fact, the movie's way of showing off Wolf's intelligence ends up telling more about how the movie thinks of your intelligence. How do we get across he's smart? Well, we'll just have him do puzzles really well and be extremely good at pancake making. Oh, and make it so when he drives into his garage, he times the door opening like scary well. And Wolf's autism is a major character aspect and plot point of the film, but that doesn't mean it's handled well. The film begins with Christian's parents checking out a home for children with mental disabilities. Wolf's military father is very much against his son living there, so they move on. Later in the film, we find out the father's alternative plan, ninja school. Or rather, he pays a guy to beat up his kids in a Zen garden while he reads the paper. So that's why we're supposed to be okay with an accountant kung fu fighting an entire private military. Personal favorite henchman was the one that exclaimed, "Oh, what the what?" when Wolf starts whipping around his belt like H&R Block Jason Bourne. Anna Kendrick is also in this movie alongside J.K. Simmons, Shane from The Walking Dead, and Jeffrey Tambor, aka George Bluth Sr. from Arrested Development, who has several scenes in a prison visitation room talking about money laundering, and he never mentions to Wolf that there's always money in the banana stand. Wasted opportunity. The film ends with the head henchman of the big bad guy sitting down and politely talking to Wolf about their divergent career paths. Wolf finishes the mission with an unceremonious headshot, and then he runs off to Canada with his trailer. Definitely a final scene I've never seen before, and that's kind of this movie. Not bad, but different. There's a minigun in the dude's garage. They have to use that in the finale, right? No. When he kills people, he has to have catchphrases, right? He punctuates one kill by turning to the innocent bystanders and giving them a little wave. Okay. It's an odd one, but check it out when you're trapped on the couch at 2 in the morning and Showtime's playing it. This concludes the movie news. Back to you, Aaron.
Thank you, Augie. Well, that just about does it for this spooktacular episode of The Dish. Thank you for joining us. Stay safe this weekend. As always, avoid clowns. Don't forget to vote. The universe is a hologram, etc. We will see you next time. Or will we? Yes, we will. Good night, everybody.